morning to all the participants. Professor Bhunesh Gupta sir is also here. So I am formally welcome all the participants, and for the inauguration of this webinar, we will ask Professor VK Gupta sir, who is the HOD Textile Technology, to give introduction.
Good morning to all of you. On behalf of our patron, Dr. Dhiren Kumar Sharma, Principal MLTC Bhilwara, I would like to welcome in international webinar, Application of the Textiles in Advanced Material Research, organized by the Textile Technology Department. I heartily welcome all faculty members of the MLVTI, alumni, students of MLVTC and IIT Delhi. For the webinar on the application of the textiles in advanced material research, we have the distinguished resource persons, Professor Bhunesh Gupta, sir, IIT Delhi, Dr. Rajesh Mishra, Technical University of Liberec, Czech Republic, Dr. Michael Petrot, Technical University of the Liberec, Czech Republic. I would heartily thanks all resource persons for agreeing to give their valuable time for this webinar. Now I'd like to introduce our keynote speaker, Professor Bhunesh Gupta sir, Professor at Department of the Textile Technology, IIT Delhi. Professor Gupta is an eminent speaker and researcher. He is associated with IIT Delhi since 1996. He is guiding a group of the scientists and students of the dedicated to field of the polymeric biomaterials and bioengineering. He has associated with many research organizations in India and abroad. Professor Gupta has published around 150 papers in international journals, presented about 250 papers in internationals, have 21 patent in his account, and wrote about 11 books. Now I'd like to request Professor Gupta to present his talk on medical textiles.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yeah. So can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Can
yes,
you
sir.
hear me? Okay. I'd like
yes,
to
sir.
share my slide. So how do I do that? Just a minute.
Sir, here at the below there is a present now.
Just yeah. Okay.
On that, please click on that, sir. And in that, you have the three options: your entire screen, window, or Chrome tab. And you can like share your entire screen or window where your PPT is there, sir.
Entire screen I'll share, and then PPT I have to start, so it will go automatically. Is it?
Yes, sir. And when this PPT will be open, sir, the whole PPT will be on this slide. You'll not able to visible all the participants. Only the PPT will be visible to.
Okay. In that case, if I do it slide, just a minute. If I make some change, that I see the present now. A window should be okay. Do you think?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. In window, if it is your PPT is open, you can click on that and share it.
It works now. Is it okay?
So present. Click on the present now, and then you go to that window, sir.
Sharing is, it's showing sharing, and in sharing, what do I do now? Share.
Yes, sir. It is now presenting.
So I see slide.
Yes.
Let me my
Yes, sir.
slide.
So
Where?
minimize that, and
Just a
you
minute.
can.
Let me check my slides. Yeah, it's here. I don't see my slides. Can I click it? How do I share my slides? Actually, I'm not getting. Because sharing should come immediately, isn't it? Hello?
Hello, sir. You minimize
Yeah,
this size, and then you
yeah.
go to the your PPT, sir. It is visible.
Okay.
All the screen here is visible. You just go to your PPT, sir. Now.
So, okay, so now you can see my people, but I can't see anyone. Is that okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, fine.
But
So you see my slides, is it?
sir, only blank side is there, not.
No, no. Some problem somewhere. Looks like that. Sharing a window. It says sharing a window. See, if I minimize it, I should be able to. You are present. That's what it says.
So
Now,
now
if I see,
minimize.
if I minimize it, if I go for my, suppose I go, is this okay now? Can you see anything? Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
हाँ sir.
Yeah, sharing is not
Can you
working.
minimize the screen? And so your entire screen is coming, sir. That whole screen has been coming. So just minimize it and just
Okay.
open your PPT, sir.
Okay, if I minimize it, and if I open my PPT. Now, this is my PPT. Can you see the PPT? Hello?
No, sir. No, sir. There is some problem.
That's the situation. Some problem somewhere because now
Uh,
my PPT is there. Yeah. It says sharing a window, but
yeah.
it's not sharing. Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
Sir, can you send that the
I do it
mail
again.
or mail me, sir? You mail me that PPT so I can
The
share it
mail I
from here.
sent. Okay. So to which are the email ID? Which email ID I use?
Sir, page 007. I will write in chat box, sir.
Okay.
participant please wait for 5 minutes. Sir, unmute it. Your voice is not. Sir, unmute.
Yeah. Your email ID, can tell me again.
Sir, Khude, KHUDE
KH.
UDE
Mm-hmm.
007
Okay.
@gmail.com.
Okay, so I. Okay, I sent it. Did you get the mail?
Yes, sir, I received. So now I will share my window.
Mm-hmm.
Now I think the slides will be visible.
Yeah, I can see the slides. So,
Yes, sir.
so this is okay. This is the presentation mode, is it?
Yes, sir.
So, oh, fine. I mean, everything is fine now. So, I'll start my presentation. First of all, let me thank you all that you gave me an opportunity that I can talk to the faculty and other colleagues plus students of your institute. Certainly nice opportunity where we can have exchange of our views and ideas. The topic which I choose is medical textiles, which is a bit different topic. In fact, this topic is slightly newer as far as the the textile is concerned. So it's classified as the area within technical textiles. And within technical textiles to something very, very new. And there are enormous possibilities, enormous things which are happening almost every day. And in these things, what you do is that you come out with new products and new performances are also there. So if I go to next, so what the question is, what are these medical textiles? These medical textiles are basically the products which are used for giving improved quality to the human life. So there are technologies. These technologies involve products, and these products are used for human health care. So it's a vast, very wide range of products which are used in human health care. And this is how we have to look at these different products. Next.
Yes, sir.
So in these medical textiles, two different possibilities that we have. One is the biotextiles and other one is the protective textiles. Protective textiles are the textiles which are used to protect the human being from different
Hello,
conditions.
sir. Hello.
So different adverse conditions are there and use those materials for that. Uh, the biotextiles, on the other hand, are different materials, and these materials are used in contact with the cells and tissues. So that means protective textiles are surgical gown. These days, there's a lot of demand for antibacterial, anti-viral stuff, and there's a PPE kits are there, and a lot of companies have come out with PPE kits. Similarly, the biotextiles means, so medical textile part is protective textile and the biotextile. Now, biotextile means materials which are used in contact with the tissues. That means they're used in fact as the implants and other things. So these implants could be sutures, stitches which are applied to the skin. Vascular grafts are there, and you'll find the wound dressing materials. Hernia repair, hernia mesh, that's the polypropylene mesh which is used to repair the abdominal abnormalities. So the requirements for a protective textile is different as compared to the requirements for the 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 biotextiles. Next, the can I have next slide? So no, before previous one, the previous slide. Okay. So the next slide. Yeah. So what you see, there are possibilities which are there. The first one is you can see the surgeon is putting up the wound care system or dressings to the whole thing, and he's wearing the gown. Then there are materials which are used for or inside the body, and similarly, my slide is gone. Hello.
Yes, sir.
My slide is gone.
No, sir. It is visible.
Someone else, Pawan Meena is presenting. Something is coming there.
Okay, sir.
The list of people.
Sir, please remove that guy, Pawan. Sir, please remove that guy, Pawan, and let us start again.
Wait, one sir. So now is it visible?
Let me check. Yeah, now it's okay.
Now is it visible?
So what I like to say is that there are materials like sutures is another example, which is being used for surgical repairs. The stitches, which are almost, I think everyone must have, almost everyone has one or two times at least once in life these surgical procedures. Similarly, hernia repair, hernia meshes are there. Hernia mesh is what that's polypropylene knitted structure. And now there are some changes also in there. Vascular grafts and other things. So tissue engineering is another area. In tissue engineering, it's a beautiful area. What happens in tissue engineering is that you are creating the human organs in the laboratory. And these human organs are based on your own cells and tissue body. So you can imagine that the domain, that means you can not only repair your wounds, but you can also create your body parts, create organs in the laboratory. And this is how the textile or the biotech matters a lot. So in all these areas, many possibilities that you see. Next slide, can I have?
Yes.
Next slide,
Is it
if
visible?
I can help. Yeah, now it's okay. So what do you mean is how, see, as a textile engineer, how can you design these materials? It involves many things. It has textile engineering, it has chemistry, it has material science, it has bioscience, and it has medical science. So that means what's happening is that textile engineers are coming together with the, no, not this slide, there was some other slide. Next slide or before that? No, before that. No. But, yeah, so this is fine. Please keep it intact. So these textile engineers are coming together, joining hands with the biomedical people and trying to develop these materials. So in biotextiles, there's a beautiful scenario where we can create these materials, and there is a vision for biomedicine or biomedical domain in textile engineering. Next slide. Now, what is needed? You can have a textile. You can have a textile, but can you insert it in the body? I think no. If you do that, the patient will die in a couple of days. You can't do that because it's a serious problem. That means as a textile engineer, what is needed? You have to design your product in such a way that it becomes compatible with the body or the tissues. And that's called biocompatibility. You know that if something goes inside the body reacts against it. If the body reacts against it, that means the whole thing is going to be rejected by the body. Then what is sound? What sound is there? Please, can you mute your whole thing? The sound is the real problem. Anyway, so what you see is the textile structures. There are different possibilities are there. You can have monofilament, hollow fibers. You can have multifilament, braided structures, knitted structures, woven structures, non-woven structures, electrospun structures. Large number of possibilities. The only thing is that you have to select a specific product for specific applications. Okay, next. So in these textiles, again there is a requirement. Sometimes you implant something in the body, but then you don't have to take it out. Okay, that is biodegradable. Now I give an example of eye surgery. Stitches are put in eye, but inside, or abdominal surgery inside the stomach, in abdominal part, stitches are put together, but you don't remove them. Okay, That means they degrade there. So there is requirement of biodegradable suture inside the body. But if you are using something outside the body, the biodegradable is not the requirement. You can have biodegradable, you can have biostable, whatever you want, you can have it there. So in these requirements, you have to really see whether what kind of material you need. You need biodegradable material or bio. Again, if it is biodegradable material, then what is the limit of biodegradation? Should it degrade in 2 months or in 2 years? Now, if you need a filament, which is going to be, which you need that should degrade in 2 months, means you are going to have lactic acid based systems, polylactic acid based systems, okay? Copolymers, polylactic acid, which is like ELG, polylactic glycolic acid is there, polyglycolic acid is there. There are sutures, bicryl suture, which degrades in the body. So, my point is that for 2 months you will go for, suppose, or 3 months you will go for polylactic glycolic acid suture, bicryl suture. But if you want to have something for 2 years, then you will go for polycaprolactone suture, PCL based systems. So your requirement and how much time you want to give it for degradation is always there. Now, so these areas, very common areas, but beautiful areas. There is science in it. So these are the areas which is the sutures, wound care system, and along with wound care system, there is tissue engineering and catheters and other things. Now, the question is, as a textile person, how do you design them? That means you have to have a knowledge, basic knowledge of chemistry. You know, if you don't have basic knowledge of chemistry, it's difficult to do anything. So that means you have to change the chemical composition. Okay. You want to have something, you want to create something which should degrade. Not so my slide, the previous slides, please. I'm not yet gone. Yeah. So what I like to say is that what you need is little knowledge of chemistry. And this chemistry knowledge means, suppose you want to design. How do you design a biodegradable? You know, it looks very complicated, but it's not so complicated. See, if you have something, polyethylene is biostable, or polypropylene, PP, filament, biostable, 50 years, nothing happens. You want something in 50 days. What can you do? You put ester linkages in it. That means you put ester linkages, it's going to degrade because there can be hydrolysis of ester. So this chemistry part is very important, which is needed whenever you want to develop a material. So chemical composition is important. Then functionality is important. Functionality means what kind of functional group you have got. You want to add something on top of it. Suppose you want to immobilize something, then there are possibility of different functional groups. Solubility, insolubility, and then the drug designs and other material. So if you want to develop a material, infection-resistant material, that's what is going on these days. Government of India is putting a lot of money in infection-resistant and antiviral, antimicrobial, antiviral stuff. So what do you do then? You are going to put up a drug on top of it. And if you put a drug on top of it, what will happen? The drug has to make a bonding with the surface. Now, polypropylene, suppose you put any drug on top of it, it will not come. Because polypropylene is highly non-polar, completely hydrocarbon nature. There's no polarity, no functionality, which can bind. But you need is a material which can bind the drug, or which can bind the metal ions, so that you can create a surface which is antimicrobial in nature. Now, this is where the textile engineering and chemical engineers, they come together. A textile engineer can design a beautiful monofilament with beautiful structure, excellent crystallinity, excellent blast tension temperature, excellent modulus over there, excellent bending strength, not the chemistry. So what you do is you take the help of a chemical engineer. He will tell you what to do. So this is how we go for it. So next slide. So what you see is immobilization. As I said, you have to immobilize a drug. On PP suture or PP filament, you can't immobilize anything. But you have to use PP suture. PP suture, PP filaments are used. PP hernia mesh is used. So what you need is, you have to create some functional groups on the surface. And these functional groups are, it can be hydroxyl group, carboxyl group, amino group, amide group, or sulfonic. Anything could be there. Okay. So if you have these functional groups, what can happen? Any drug which is there, it can make a hydrogen bonding with it. Okay. If it makes hydrogen bonding with the molecule, it can bind it. That means. So if you have carboxyl group, suppose you want to put in ciprofloxacin on top of it, or tetracycline, which is the bend now, is positive charge. Now what you need is, if you have positive charge on the drug, simple thing, you need a negative charge on the filament, so that there is ionic bonding. And how do you get negative charge? Simple. Introduce carboxyl groups, ionize it in alkaline medium, COOH will form COO negative. Okay. If negative is there, that means if you put it in tetracycline, cipro solution, or any other drug, there will be positive negative interaction, ionic interaction, negative charge and positive, and the drug is bonded. Very simple. So this kind of situation, which looks very different, very difficult, I'll show you how easy it is for a textile engineer to design these surfaces. Similarly, ammonia, NH2 is there, that could be used. Okay, so next. Yeah, so this is how I see, if there is a filament on top of it. In this filament, you can see there is a anchoring site, which could be hydroxyl or carboxyl. And if this carboxyl is negative charge, your drug is positive charge, there is interaction. So this is the technology which a textile person has to understand. And so simple to carry it out. Okay. Now, next. Now, what can you do? Drugs. This thing is, there's a wide range of drugs which is available. See, what you see is here on the slide is the tetracycline. But then there are many antibiotics or other simple organic molecules are there. Salicylic acid is there, or other molecules are there which are really excellent. Antipyretic drugs are there, analgesic drugs are there. So a filament, suppose you want to use a fabric, if there is a pain, you want to use a fabric, that means the fabric has to be given those analgesic or drugs, so that they can diffuse to the skin. So another thing which is coming up these days, especially, Baba Ramdev has given a life. Ramdev is always talking about herbal things, and not only Ramdev, but also many companies have come up. If you go to Haridwar and Dehradun area, you'll find that these companies, herbal companies are lined up. All of them are developing products. So in these herbal products, what are the possibilities? Neem, I've given the photographs for the neem. Neem oil, very, very frequently used. It's not new thing. Neem oil is used in centuries. Our sannyasis, yoga people, they used to have it. So herbal products are there. Aloe vera is there, which is very widely used these days. Now, beyond the world of antibiotics and the herbal products, there's another world, which is the world of metallic salts. And silver is very important. These days, you find many people are looking at the possibility of using silver. And within silver also, it's not silver ion, it's nanosilver, which is being used. So you have, these three possibilities that you see on the screen, these three possibilities, the choice is yours. The choice is from the medical side, what they want. And whatever the medical people want, you are going to design your textile, put together everything there, and then passing it over to the medical people so that they can use it for human health care. So this is cycle. You are developing something, giving it to medical people giving it to human for human health care, and human from human health care, again, they give you thanks that you developed something for them. That's the cycle. Now, so let us work on. So this is something which gives you an introduction how things can develop. But then the question is, how do we design them? So to design them is also very, very simple and very easy. So next slide, can I have? One of the possibilities, which is relatively recent, in textiles, it's a very old domain and where people are working on different things. But then this plasma processing, it's a new process, relatively new. I mean, it's in fact plasma came to light in 1927, so almost 92 years back. Okay, but then these days, initially there was no taker for plasma processing, but the last 25 to 30 years, this plasma processing has come out as a beautiful technique to create newer functionalities and functional textiles. So in this plasma processing, especially if you go to France, I tell you there are many companies which are working on plasma processing of textiles. So probably it's a matter of the subject of your curriculum at BTech and MTech level that you people might be knowing about it. So in this plasma processing, simple. What is plasma? Plasma is like ionized gas. You see the tube light, and if you see the tube light, what is there? This plasma inside. Okay. Similar thing is here. It's plasma. Depending on the nature of the gas, you can have specific plasma there and a specific color also over there. Next. So what happens in plasma processing? Like I give an example of polyester, which is polyester. I can take an example because you people are very well known, or polyester known very well to you people. So what happens in plasma? You can treat it with plasma. So plasma ionized gas is falling on the surface of the fabric of filament. The energy of plasma is not much, hardly 8 to 10 electron volts. So it's not very high, but it's still high to break the bonds on the surface because energy is so low. 10 electron volt is not much. It's almost like it can break the bonds on the surface, but not in the bulk. So on the surface, you get the radicals, and these radicals then subsequently can be combined together with many other things, and you get the plasma processed material. Okay. So similarly, now what happens if you have the wounds? Serious wound, you can see over there. It needs the wound healing. But when the surgeon goes for wound healing, he has to stitch the skin also. That means what you need. If initially people did not care much, surgeons also did not care much. Take the filament, modified filament, and put the stitches. But now the world has changed. More cosmetic things are needed by the people. No one wants the traditional things. These are the more cosmetic, more performance-oriented things are needed. And what are those things? Now, if you put up anything with this tissue, which you see there, you put up anything or any filament to put stitches there. In between, there was a question. I mean, you will see what is the advantage of plasma processed polyester. I would suggest that at the end, you can ask some questions. Otherwise, if not, then you can always ask your professor to get my email ID. That is much better to discuss, because 1 hour is difficult. I cannot make presentation and answer your question also. Okay. Or else if you give me half a day, I'll explain everything. But anyway, so at the end, we'll see that if time permitting us. So can you go back this slide? I couldn't explain this slide properly. The previous slide, please. Hello. Can I have my previous slide, please? Can you hear? What do I do? Can I see my slides, please? Yeah, okay. Okay, slide is gone again. Okay, so I have this slide. So what I need is, as I said, what you need is the aesthetic part of these materials. Now, whenever there is stitch, you find that after a stitch is removed from the skin, there is scar formation. And these spots, which we call scar, again on my slide. My slides, please. Hello.
Yes, sir.
My slides.
Sir, it is now coming, sir.
Why is happening like that? I mean,
The participants are sharing the screens in between. So all the participants are requested,
you
don't
should
share
ask.
your screen in
Yeah,
between.
you should request the participants to mute their video also.
All the participants kindly mute
Audio,
and
video both. Audio may
don't
be
share
okay,
the
but
screen
video
in
should.
between this
Yeah.
presentation.
Okay, can I see my slides, please? Because I have this time is then approaching. Okay. Okay. Good. So if you edit it and go to the next slide. Okay, so now
Which slide, sir? May I know?
this is fine. This is let it be because no need to discuss
Okay.
more. So what I'm saying is that so there are many possibilities that you would see in these textiles. Now, an antimicrobial agent, there's one more antimicrobial agent that is the chitosan, which is very well known, and this is polysaccharide. And this polysaccharide, people did not know anything about it almost 30 years back. Until if you go to my slide is gone again.
Now, sir.
Where is
Now,
my slide?
now it is fine, sir.
Yeah, okay. If you go to southern part of Kerala, you find so many companies that they are producing chitosan, and people used to burn it for cooking, but now today what happens is that it's gold basically. So this is a beautiful polysaccharide from biosources, is biodegradable. It has antimicrobial features also. At the same time, it's hemostatic. So with so much in there, people are using this chitosan a lot. Next slide, please. So what you do is, how do you coat it on the fabric? Simple cutting mangle process that you use in textile technology. You have the fabric, there's a cutting mangle, chitosan is applied to the fabric and then squeezed, and you get the specific amount of the chitosan on top of it. Okay, next. So what happens is, as I said, I give you an example again of polyester, so that so how do you do it? How can you immobilize chitosan. You take polyester fabric, dip it in chitosan, take it out, it will not stick to it. Or it will not be bonded to polyester because polyester is hydrophobic material. So what you do is you functionalize on the surface. Two ways to functionalize it. Either you create carboxyl groups as such, or else you make a grafting on top of it. So if you put carboxyl group there with these carboxyl groups, it has amino group. So carboxyl and amino group, they can make ionic bonding by, if you have carboxyl negative charge, amino positive charge, protonation of amino will give you the positive charge. Okay, and then you can place it in solution of chitosan, take it out, and it will be immobilized on the surface. Okay, next. So what you see is many examples, chitosan together, many things, some herbal things. I see on the first slide, control sample. The bacteria, S. aureus bacteria is full of bacteria. You know, but if you have this system where you have the hydrogel, maybe chitosan or anything, and combined with some herbal stuff, you don't find any bacteria over there. So you see the material. Please mute your stuff. There's some noise coming. Okay, so this is how we do it here. Now, what you see again? So in the second case, that's what you wanted. You wanted to develop a fabric where infection, which is infection resistant. If bacteria cannot adhere to it, it will not grow over there. Simple. Okay. So next slide. So what you see is how do you do this for PP again? If it is polypropylene, fabric is there, with plasma, radicals are created, and along with radicals, you can coat this fabric with something, some antimicrobial agents which you might like to have. Next. See, I give an example because textile people are always happy when they see color. And I thought, why not to show this slide? PP, you cannot make color. Can you make color in PP? You cannot do it because PP is hydrophobic. Only thing is, for PP, you go for mass coloration. Okay, this is how basic dyeable PP. You take the PP, and this PP is processed PP. Place it in methylene blue. What you see is here methylene blue, rhodamine B, and many more things, many more dyes over there. And you could dye it, beautiful colors. So this is the advantage of plasma processing. Something which you cannot achieve, you can achieve by plasma process. Okay. Now, next slide. So what happens is plasma, you might, very interesting, and I like to tell you these things especially because, see, if you have the plasma, argon as the gas, carrier gas, you get the free radicals. If you have oxygen, you can get hydroxyl groups, you can get hydroperoxide groups. If you have ammonia, you can get amino groups, water, steam. If you have steam, water as the vapor, steam, you can get hydroxyl group. And if you have carbon dioxide, you can get carboxyl. Now, actually, this plasma is called sustainable chemistry. Reason is what? Suppose you want to create sulfonic acid, ammonia, or sulfonic group, or any reaction you want to carry out. Any chemical reaction you must have seen in your 12th standard, it takes 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. And then there are chemicals are needed. The chemicals are thrown out. Now the problem is how to throw those chemicals because environmental protection is there. You cannot throw things in the environment just like that. And if you throw it, you are polluting the environment. In plasma, instead of 2 hours, it takes 2 minutes. And there's no effluent, nothing. So what I'm saying is it's a beautiful approach in today's world. People are using it to create the functional groups on the surface. Okay, next. So you can see over here in plasma functionalization, one example is the PCl, polycaprolactone. So this is the, in fact, PhD work of one of my students, Dr. Shameta. What she did, you can have PCl and you can use carbon dioxide plasma, CO2 plasma. And the CO2 plasma can give you, because CO2 gives you carboxyl groups. And so what you mean is within 2 minutes or 3 minutes, or you can see that with their second in time in seconds, 40, 80, 120. So maybe in 60 seconds, you get the maximum number of carboxyl groups. So instead of 2 hours, you are using 60 seconds, you are getting carboxyl groups on the surface. And that's how the beauty of this plasma processing is. Okay, next. So what you see is that in plasma processing, surface becomes non-homogeneous, surface etching is there, but suddenly, you achieve something, but you might lose something else. And surface becoming like that is not a problem. This is, in fact, in nano range. Okay, it's not even micron. The nano scale change on the surface is there, which is not a problem for medical applications. Next. So again, coming to the suture. Now, what is the science behind the sutures, antimicrobial sutures? When you stitch, there is a drug on top of it. On the surface of the suture, there is drug. Okay. So when this suture is in contact with the skin, so क्या होता है कि this surface inside the body, there is a lot of water. Fine. So the suture, the drug dissolves in this water around the suture. The drug dissolves and it spreads in the area, in that specific area. So if drug is around the specific area in the wound, it will not allow bacteria to grow. This is the science which is taking place there. Okay, next. And you can see over there how the antimicrobial suture. You see the white there. In each petri dish, what is there are 2 samples. One is white sample without any shadow. The other one is with shadow. So without shadow means, and the bacteria is growing in the petri dish. Now, it's growing everywhere where the white filament is. But if you see this shadowed part, this modified suture. And with modified suture, there is a zone where there is no bacterial growth. So you can imagine that the sutures, if you want to make the medical textiles as infection-resistant materials, this drug-modified suture doesn't allow bacteria to grow not only on the suture but also in surrounding area, and this is how the infection resistance matters a lot. So this is a model drug of tetracycline, which is in fact banned these days, but you can use ciprofloxacin, you can use penicillin, you can use any other drug which you like, or salicylic acid, or anything else that you like, which could be placed on top of it. And gentamicin you can use. Some people are using that also. Okay, so this is how the technology. What is technology then? The technology is that take the filament, expose with plasma, 60 seconds, immobilize with the drug, and take it out. So this is the overall technology that's happening there. Okay, next. So another thing which is coming up these days is nano. People find that nano release something great, and it's true. Many things which are not happening in an efficient manner, they happen with nanotechnology. This is how nano silver comes into picture. It's very easy to make nano silver. What is silver? Next. What is silver? Silver is silver nitrate. Okay. AgNO3 is silver nitrate. Now, if you place silver nitrate in water in the body or in the medium, so what will happen? If you do that, my slide is gone. Can I get back my slide, please? Okay. So, slide before that. Previous slide, please. So silver nitrate is there, and if you place it in water, what do you get? You get silver ions and nitrate ions. Okay, so silver ions are, but these silver ions have to be converted to nano, and this is how you do it by using reducing agents. Many reducing agents are the alcohol, aldehydes, etc. Next. So what you see is that if you have the silver ions, if you have alcohol, polyethylene glycol, you can get silver at nano silver. Okay. Next. Similarly, glucose, people are using glucose, in fact, to produce nano silver. And this glucose aldehyde group over there, this helps in producing the silver. Okay. So these are the two different possibilities you can have silver. Next. And how do that filament? With filament or fabric, you pass it, fabric, pass it through a colored silver bath, take it out, padding mangle, drying process, curing process, and you get the finished product out of it. Simple thing. Okay, next. So, what happens now? How is always, it's easy to say that take the filament, modified filament, place it in silver solution, take it out. But then, how much filament? Plasma. How much silver? How much things? These are the optimists, because you can't have, body cannot take things just like that. There's always optimum amount that is needed. So if you increase the carboxyl content, you increase silver content also. Now, a specific amount of silver, for getting a specific amount of silver on the monofilament, you have to control the carboxyl content. And you can control the carboxyl content how? By controlling the plasma conditions. Okay. So there is a link between the three. Next. So what you do is you can have the silver ions, EG chains are there, reduce the silver into nano silver, immobilize on PET suture. So what you get is the last one, top right, you can see suture is there, anchoring groups are there, and yellow colored, what you see is the silver ions with yellow color, which are reduced silver, nano silver. And this nano silver stays on the surface and takes care of the infection. Next. And so how it takes care of infection? Because the silver slowly and slowly releases from surface. Now, for anything like in suture, if the suture is applied, stitch is applied, you have to remove the stitch in 4 or 5 days. Okay. Now, if you control for first 2 days, if you can control the infection, nothing will happen later on. And that's how you see here. The silver is released up to 48 hours, and after that also is releasing, but very slow. So if you release the silver like that, initially, 48 hours, and that's what is happening over there. That means you are creating a structure, a filament, which is antimicrobial. And next. And what you see here, the control sample, the bottom, the first one, is full of bacterial colonies. But if you go to nanogel PET and CLX PET, nanogel is silver with silver, and the other one is chlorhexidine. Chlorhexidine is used these days in dental stuff. So you can see in both the cases hardly any bacterial growth. So this is the advantage. That's what I'm saying. This is the advantage of developing the sutures, developing the textiles, which can give you something so great that infection will not be there. And I tell you, sometimes the infection is a serious problem. And it's such a serious problem that amputation has to be carried out. So one has to think of infection in a very serious manner. Next. So to conclude my talk is that plasma processing is a beautiful thing, which can be used to functionalize the suture materials, wound care systems, many implants, hernia implants, anything that you find. Because once infection happens, it can even lead to the death of a patient. So you have to really take care of that part. That infection looks very simple. In words, infection ho gaya hai. Lekin if you don't cure it, it can be dangerous. So it's a beautiful opportunity to for the plasma processing to develop materials. And the advantage, what is the advantage of plasma? The most important advantage is that your modification is limited to the surface only, maybe 8 to 10 nanometers of the surface, because plasma can't enter the textile inside. And if that happens, that means you achieve the required infection resistance, but at the same time, your inherent properties, bulk properties, and inherent properties are intact, and that's what you need for. Next. So thank you so much for your patience, and I finished my talk, and I wish I have given you something, some information, which is very much needed in today's world. So thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for a nice presentation. And sir, there was some disturbance in between, so I ask sorry from you. So
That's fine. That's fine. So it's fine. Now I withdraw myself. If there is any question, I don't know, do I have to answer any question or I just leave? Because then
If anyone had question,
you have the next speaker, I think. Okay.
yes, sir.
Okay then. Thank you so much. Bye.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, sir. So, good morning, one and all present. So, then our next speaker is Dr. Michael Petrie, who is Associate Professor in Technical University of Liberec, and his research areas are electrical vehicles, robotics, and machine components. And he has published about 120 publications in international journal and 100 presentation in national international conferences. And his teaching activity based on the mechanics of parts,
Prakash,
rotational fluid, and he is also the deputy director and head of Center for the Advanced Material and Nanotechnology. He also he is also leading several industrial projects with the Skoda auto company in Czech Republic. So now I invite Dr. Michael Petrie to give a presentation on the modular platform for the automotive chassis of specialized electrical vehicles for fleet and equipment transportations.
Uh, Hello, Prakash ji.
Yes, sir.
No, sorry for this change, but according to original plan, it is my presentation now, and Professor Petro will be doing it later. Can you kindly
Okay.
make this correction, please?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So sorry for that. So our the expert for this uh, session is Dr. Rajesh Mishra, who is associate professor in Technical University of Liberec. His research areas are nanomaterials, textile structural composite, green composite, and nanocomposite. He also published around 150 publications in international journals and about 200 presentations in international conferences. And his teaching activities include the subject based on the structural mechanics of fibrous structures in general and woven structures in particular, the material quality characterization, engineering of textile fibrous material structures, and biomechanics of apparel textiles and nanotechnology and nanomaterials. He is also the responsible for the international students education and research at the Faculty of Engineering. So now I request Dr. Rajesh Mishra sir to deliver his talk on the aerogel embedded textile for high performance thermal insulation.
Yeah, thank you, Prakash ji. Thank you very much, and our apologies to the audience for this missed information or the changes. I hope you'll be listening to both the presentations. Professor Petru is sitting beside me, but he's prepared for the next one. I want to operate my PPT myself. Is it possible? Can I open
Yes,
my
sir.
PPT?
Yes, sir. In at the below we have the present now. You see here.
Yes, this one.
Click on that, sir. In that there is a your entire screen, window, and Chrome tab. So you can present it through the entire screen or window.
Yeah.
and click on that, sir, PPT, and then share it. That window will come.
I think this one. Okay, there seems to be some complication, but you have my PPT. Could you Prakashji, display
Yes,
it?
sir.
Yeah, because this time we are doing it from the office, and I have
Yes,
another
sir.
computer.
Wait a minute, sir. Mhm.
Sharing. Is it
Now it
possible?
is, yes, sir. Is it visible now, sir? You can, like,
So it's
and
visible in the full
yes, sir,
screen mode.
and hide that, sir. Below that there is hide. Yes, sir. Now is it?
Okay, thank you for technical assistance. Can I start? Uh,
Yes, sir. Yes.
so once again, I welcome all the participants to this webinar. Uh, it's in fact relatively early morning in Czech Republic, 7:30, 7:45 in the morning. So today's topic of discussion will be, there's some background noise coming out. Prakashji, can you switch it off? Yeah. So the topic of discussion is aerosols are very special materials. They are used in many application areas, including textiles. So we'll discuss about aerosol embedded textiles used for high performance thermal insulation. Uh, as the name of this material suggests, for people who already know it or are new and today being introduced for the first time, this is combination of two components, aero and gel. Aero relating to air, and because of its gel-like structure, it is a not completely as a dry air, but it is some gel. The inventor of such novel material was Dr. Kissler in somewhere in the 30s, 1930s, around 90 years back. That means it's quite popular, quite advanced, quite mature material. However, there are several challenges how to use it in textiles and in standard textiles, textile application for day-to-day environment. Uh, Therefore, it's restricted to some very specific applications where standard atmospheric parameters are not coming into picture. During our discussion, we'll see what are the advantages, what are the shortcomings, why we haven't been able to use it extensively in our textiles of everyday life. This material is created from several ingredients. One of the most popular composition is silica, and it's like transparent solid. You can see this picture. It's like smoke, but solid smoke. Means you can have a definite dimension, length, width, height. You define its geometry, but at the same time, it is like a uh, gas because it is composed from approximately 99% of air. And as is commonly known to people working on thermal insulation materials, the insulation is mainly because of the air content in any kind of material. Air, stagnant air has the lowest thermal conductivity apart from some inert gases, argon, etc. But it is not possible to have argon in huge amount in some material structure. That is why when we are able to encapsulate air into some structure, we are able to have extraordinarily high thermal insulation. In other words, very low thermal conductivity. So because of this very huge porosity, porosity is another term to define the volume of air contained in any material, and textiles as such are highly porous materials. So the insulation and all sorts of thermophysiological performance are mainly a function of amount of air. It is not just the amount or volume of air, but the dimension of air in the material. Air cannot be just one big volume. It has to be split into small segments. And as small segment, smaller the segment, better is thermal insulation. And typically, aerogel is a material which has the air pockets in submicron and nanodimensional range. And the nanoporosity shows extraordinarily low thermal conductivity. Among the known materials, aerogel is the lowest conductive solid. Some people call it as air solid, and some people call frozen smoke. There are many names associated with this novel material. The most commonly used material chemistry for creation of aerogel is from silicon dioxide, and it is very low density. Therefore, it can occupy a very huge volume at very low mass. In other picture, you can see some electron microscopy where the extraordinary porosity is visible. The air is entrapped inside a network of silica. This material has many records registered in the Guinness Book of World Records, especially thermal insulation, highest thermal insulation among all solids, lowest density among the solids. When it is 99% air, you can imagine not just 99, it can be 99.8, 99.9% of porosity. That means just 0.1%, 0.1% is the other solid content. In this case, it has the lowest density, very high specific surface area. Specific surface area is defined as the surface area per unit mass. As the density is so low, it will occupy a huge surface area. It is typical behavior of all nanostructures. They have extremely high specific surface area. It has lowest refractive index, and also it is because it is almost transparent. It transmits light without hindrance, and it is extraordinarily good sound absorption material because of the porous geometry. It has very low or lowest dielectric constant among solids, and these are just a few to highlight, but there are many such very special properties attributed to aerogel. The quantitative values of density grams per cubic centimeter is in this very small values range. Porosity, as I said, can be as high as 99.8%, just for the sake of forming the network. The solid is involved, otherwise it is only gas, only air. And that is how it has the extraordinarily high thermal insulation or very low thermal conductivity. Thermal conductivity of stagnant air is something just above the value of conductivity obtained for silica aerosol. So pores are in the nanometer range. You can see between 20 to 150. I'll show you in some schematic explanation what is the mechanism of heat resistance, especially in these nanodimensional pores. Here in this picture, it is visible that aerogel is composed from different pore size. Some are nanodimensional, some are submicron or major level pores. So the whole network is split into closed pores of this nature, and it is in the range of 5 nanometer to 200 nanometer. And the advantage of having closed pores is restriction of the molecules of gas inside these cavities, and heat is not transmitted out of this chain. And I will explain later how closed pores are more efficient in thermal insulation. When textile materials are concerned, we know we have very high volume of air entrapped, and just for sake of information, a spun yarn has approximately be more 50% or more air. That means only 50% of the volume of a spun yarn is covered by the fibers, and 50% is covered by air. When we convert these yarns into textiles by weaving or knitting, we have inter-yarn spacings, interloop porosity, and the overall volume porosity of a fabric is as high as 80%. Knitted fabrics have 80%, woven fabrics something between 70 to 80%. That means 70-80% is only air in a textile structure. 30% is fiber. The more interesting materials are the nonwovens, where we do not have the twisted strands of yarns. That means it is more open structure, more voluminous, and the porosity is approximately 90%. It's very bulky, as we know, and of course depends on the density of punching and density of burning, but 90% is air. What will be interesting to combine the advantages of nonwovens with advantages of aerogel. Therefore, most of the textiles with aerogel, they are made with nonwoven materials. And typically nonwovens from synthetic fibers because of low density, bulk, and very high porosity. As such, 90% of volume of a nonwoven is air, and this 90% can be covered with aerogel, which is 99.8% composed from air with closed micro and submicron and nano pores. And thus, nonwovens embedded with aerogel are the best thermal insulation possible as of now. You can see some microscopic images, scanning electron microscopy of a nonwoven structure which is embedded with aerogel. How it is embedded, that we'll discuss later. Now you can see these aerogel granules. Why I call them granules? Because they are a combination of several molecules or several particles. Granules themselves are having a lot of pores because they have a network of these molecules, and we want these granules or clusters of silica molecules to be adhered as such to the nonwoven structure or to the fiber surface. The shortcoming of having granules is that granules are highly brittle, they are fragile, they can be crossed into powder form easily. That is why such textiles which are treated with aerogel granules cannot be used for standard applications, because if we have a jacket and we are adhering to some surface, pressing it through compression, the structure will be destroyed. Therefore, little bit it is very critical to decide what will be the application of such material. It has to be something without impact of external forces. And for example, in building insulation in very cold countries like in here, in winter temperature goes to as low as minus 15 degrees, minus 20 degrees. And it is necessary to have very porous walls with assistance of insulation material, and successfully insulation blankets with aerogel are implemented in house building insulation. I'll go into the applications in the later part of the presentation. So here are some pictures where you can see the cavities inside nonwovens, and these cavities are completely occupied by the aerogel granules, thus supplementing with the thermal insulation behavior of nonwovens textiles. Little bit higher magnification shows you the cluster of aerogels or the granules which are adhering to surface of fibers. It's not possible to cover the whole volume. There must be some other cavities with air. Aerogel is more efficient than air, but air is not bad for thermal insulation. Now question arises, how much aerogel is required for covering the volume? In fact, because the density is so low, you need only 1 to 2% by weight. Less than 3% by weight of the material is sufficient to cover the whole volume efficiently, and thus to have very high thermal insulation in nonwoven textiles. To go a little bit wider, aerogels are not just made from silica, though that is the most popular, most widely used ones. It is made from many other inorganic materials like titanium, tin, chromium, etc. It can be from organic materials. It can be from carbon. It can be combination of inorganic and organic materials. but the ease of application and ease of preparation is with silica. This material is created by a very special technique involving sol gel method. So in the beginning, we need to create a gel which involves solid particles, of course, in the very small dimensions, about nanometers, few nanometers. And these particles are dispersed in some liquid phase. They then develop some agglomeration. They try to create some three-dimensional network, and that three-dimensional network, through time, by aging, forms the gel with some pores which are filled with the liquor or the liquid solvent. And then through drying process, typically it is a supercritical drying with some pressure, and this solvent is evaporated and the space is occupied by air. Now these very close air pockets, they are responsible for the final insulation of heat or sound or transparency of the aerosol. In a typical industrial practice, this is the setup, how to create the suspension of tiny nanoparticles in a liquid phase. So this suspension is similar like milk or fog, and the solvent is evaporated or removed through supercritical drying in autoclave with a pressure of 1000 or higher pounds per square inch. The most critical aspect of using aerosol as a block can be formed easily. We can create some template of aerosol, but it is highly brittle. It is very lightweight, and it is sensitive to external stimuli, including temperature, including humidity. Silica is highly hygroscopic, as everyone knows. Therefore, it is necessary to protect it by embedding it into some textiles and into a nonwovens. As you can see in this schematic picture, the silica sol is created in the laboratory. Then it is applied to some dry blanket of nonwovens. These nonwovens are typically from a spunbond material, maybe polypropylene or polyethylene. Then the gel is adhering to the surface. There is aging, so this roll as a whole will be subjected to aging, and after aging, it is subjected to supercritical drying in the autoclave, and then by heat, and finally it is wrapped. It is very crucial to decide what will be the pressure and tension on this wrapping, because, as I said, the aerosol granules are highly sensitive to the pressure imparted. However, if it is protected from all sides by the fibrous material, or in other words, if the aerosol granule is embedded into the core of the fibrous material, it is relatively safe and cannot be crushed easily. Surface aerosol can be easily destroyed. In this picture, you are able to see the typical breathability nature of aerosol embedded textiles. At the same time, they have very high or super hydrophobic behavior. The droplet of water is not penetrating through the nonwovens treated with aerosol, but in the second picture, you are able to see that water vapor or steam is easily passing through the pores. Therefore, they are breathable, but they are hydrophobic. And it is water repellent at high temperature. The contact angle is measured to be higher than 150 degrees. Now, the heat, how it is transferred through some porous material. It is mainly from molecule to molecule, energy is transferred. But if we are not allowing the molecule to go beyond certain boundary, like the closed pores, the heat will remain inside. So collision of these particles or the molecules of air or gas, they collide with the walls and just bounce back and just remain inside the closed pore, and that is how the heat is not transferred outside. The aerosol blankets, because blankets have fibers, air plus aerosol, have typically a thermal conductivity of 12 and something milliwatt per meter Kelvin at 100 degree Fahrenheit. This interesting picture shows the collision or so-called elastic collision of particles inside the closed pores. Here is a bigger pore, say in the range of 200 nanometers, where several gas molecules carrying heat, they are colliding with each other, colliding with the walls of the pores, and thus some amount of energy is lost. However, in very small pores, like in case of aerosol network, the molecules of gas which are carrying, or molecules of air which are having the heat energy, they have elastic collision. That means there is no loss of energy in the walls, and thus the heat is restricted within the pores, and from one surface to other surface, very small loss of heat. Though 100% protection of heat loss is not possible, but by this mechanism, we are able to prolong the time period for loss of heat, and it will be extraordinary benefit in extreme conditions of temperature, when either you are to be protected from extreme cold from outside or to be protected from extreme heat from outside, both ways. I will show you examples of this. Some researchers, they have taken some thermal images of aerosol based suits and without aerosol, and you can see the loss of heat from human body is minimized extremely by using aerosol in the suits. It is not so simple to use aerosol in all kinds of suits, as they are highly sensitive to moisture, highly sensitive to conditions. However, in very dry conditions, like in mountains, in the sub-zero temperatures, like in Siachen and Himalayas, it is possible to use such materials because there is very small amount of moisture or almost zero humidity, and if person is standing for a long time, can be protected for some time, a little bit longer time, not forever. There are several techniques which are involved to determine the thermal behavior of textiles embedded with aerosol. In Czech Republic is this system of Alambeta. Also, there is a C-therm thermal conductivity analyzer, which can measure the thermal conductivity of textiles and other surfaces along the axis in the surface. The Japanese Kawabata thermal logo is another system which involves the wind velocity, and it can measure the thermal insulation. Recently, we have developed some laboratory setup to maintain sub-zero temperature in some thermal chamber, and by use of some thermal sensors on the surface of the fabric, we are able to store data of temperature and humidity for a longer period of time, and then we are able to analyze that data with a computer assistance. I will explain about particle image velocimetry, which is another new technique to study the convective heat transfer, because as we know, the heat is transferred by three main mechanisms: conduction, convection, and radiation. So in textiles and in textile-based insulation materials, the loss of heat is mainly by conduction and convection. However, conductive loss is restricted, but convection through the microclimate is not so simple to measure. And this particle image velocimetry is a typical setup which can measure the heat loss by convection. And we have also another chamber which is built in the laboratory to involve the wind, because in a real condition there is also influence of the wind which affects the loss of heat. This is a system of thermal conductivity analysis developed in the Czech Republic, and what is a typical advantage of this system is possibility to measure conductivity under different temperatures. Ambient temperature can be set from minus 50 degrees to plus 50 degrees centigrade. So that is how we are able to measure the conductivity not just at room temperature, that is 20 to 25 degrees centigrade, but at minus 10, minus 15, minus 25, and little lower. Uh, Nature of conductivity doesn't change much, but there is change of efficiency and the rate of heat loss. So it is very essential to measure the conductivity at sub-zero temperatures. We have carried out experiments with aerosol-based blankets at -15, -20, and -25 degrees centigrade. The material which is more conductive remains more conductive in sub-zero temperature, but the efficiency of insulation is definitely higher at lower temperatures. Resistance, thermal resistance is simple function of thickness and conductivity. I need to explain that thickness plays very crucial role in determining the thermal insulation of materials, because resistance is thickness divided by conductivity. Now, in textiles, we have substantial thickness, and it is very common sense that if you want to have more insulation, you need to have thicker and thicker material. Um, there is also logic that you need to have multiple layers, because you are able to entrap more air in between two layers rather than having a dense, very thick material. But now we are discussing about porous materials, and higher the thickness, higher is thermal resistance. There is a critical thickness. We cannot have some thickness above the minimum limit, because if you will have very, very low thickness, we will not be able to have the required thermal insulation. Therefore, in order to achieve the critical thermal resistance, we need to have a minimum thickness prescribed. A very comprehensive technique to measure the thermal insulation of overall garments or suits is the thermal manning. Otherwise, all these systems which I mentioned a while ago, they are able to measure the insulation or conductivity for small samples. But for an overall garment, it is necessary to see how the suit behaves because of the stitching, because of the openings in between the layers and between different parts of the garment. So there are existing thermal mannequin systems with sensors embedded to different parts of the body, to the chest, to the shoulders, to joints, and heat can be generated inside the body, just like the human body, and the heat loss at different body parts can be measured by sensors, can be visualized by thermal camera, and we are able to have overall information of the insulation material. Because some of my PhD student, who is already a doctor now, she visited to Japan for internship, and she extensively used the latest thermal evo in the university in Ueda, Senshu University, and she was able to measure the insulation of these aerosol embedded textiles with different wind velocity or wind speed. In the Center of Nanotechnology, where Professor Petru is now Deputy Director, there is a system of particle image velocimetry to evaluate the thermal convection. And this is a very novel system. As you can see, the chamber here, it's just a schematic. So the textile layer is placed on the thermal plate. Heat is generated here, and heat can be, or the temperature of this plate can be same as the human body. The temperature outside here at this level can be controlled, can be -20, -25, and there is approximately 2 mm distance here. This is air. On the surface of the textile, there are some olive oil particles, which are very sensitive to laser light. And there is an image capturing system. Laser light, when incident on these particles, can show how the particles move because of the heat being transmitted from this plate to the outer surface. And the path followed by the particles can be visualized by the thermal camera. I'll show you some picture later on, maybe the next slide. So this is the actual setup. The sample is placed here, and temperature, sub-zero temperatures can be maintained here. And through convection, the particles follow the path of heat transfer. So the particles of olive oil, they just follow in which direction the heat is being transmitted and with what velocity. Yes, here we are able to get two types of information. We get it in vector and scalar form. So in vector form, we are able to judge the direction as well as the magnitude of heat. And in scalar plot, we only have the values, the magnitude, not the direction. We maintain different temperature gradient, the temperature difference between the plate and the upper environment. For example, when human body temperature is 37 and we have outside temperature of 15, so overall gradient is about 50, 52, and we are verifying this heat transfer at different temperature gradients. We went up to 51 degree centigrade of temperature gradient. And as you can see, the rate of heat flow through convection is increasing as the gradient is higher. Obviously, when the outside temperature is lower and lower, the body heat will be lost much faster. So this beautiful analysis cannot be done with other kinds of systems where we do not have ability to visualize the heat transfer. Of course, it's indirect method because we are adopting the particles which follow the path of the heat. And it is established that all particles, they have the same rate of movement as the heat. We compared with different temperature gradients, and definitely with very high, relatively higher gradient, the heat loss is faster, and the direction also is more homogeneous. This climatic chamber was essential because otherwise in ambient condition we are measuring the conductivity only at room temperature. We are not able to understand if the material will behave in the same way at extremely low or extremely high temperatures. Uh, Typically when firefighter is going to a situation, there is a temperature of ignition very high, and when some people are surviving in extreme low conditions, extreme low temperatures like 20, minus 25 degree, it is also necessary to see how fatal or how critical insulation material is in their life. This chamber can control the temperature as low as minus 70, as high as 180 degrees centigrade, the overall temperature. However, the sample is placed over a hot plate, and hot plate is in this case human body. So we maintain a human body temperature by controlling temperature of water bath, approximately 35 to 37 degrees centigrade. And this is as a sleeve, as a cover, just like human say limbs, a hand or body. Not cylindrical, but in this case we use a cylindrical a plate and place a sample which is surrounding the plate. We create multiple layers, just like the inner garment and the outer garment of the jacket, and we place some thermosensors known as data loggers in each layer. One just after the first layer, second layer, outer layer. So data loggers are very special sensors which work in offline mode because they have their own power source, and they record, they store the information about temperature and humidity for long time, about 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. And then we can take this data logger and input to computer to restore the data of temperature. So there will be a decay of temperature which shows how fast heat is lost or how long it takes to lose the body heat to the temperature to go down by 1 degree or something. And that gives idea what is the insulation performance of such materials, how much of thickness would be necessary to give better protection. In this picture, you can see the gradient of temperature going down with temperatures range between minus 20 to 20 degrees, and how the skin temperature remains constant. We try to maintain the same temperature, and how much of temperature loss on the outer surface. So with very different materials, we created aerogel-based samples. I will, after some time, explain the technique to create aerogel-based materials, because we did not use the sol gel method, which is industrial practice, but in laboratory conditions, very difficult to have supercritical drying chamber and to have material inside there. but we emphasize more on evaluation because there are available materials in the market. Some companies like Carbot and others in US, they are selling nonwovens already embedded with aerosols, and they are produced in different thicknesses, 3 millimeters, 5 millimeters, something like that, and they are used in house building insulation, not for textiles in clothing. That is a challenge because otherwise 5 millimeter thick material is relatively stiff. It is brittle, sensitive to humidity, cannot be used in standard jackets. They have a dusting problem because these aerosol granules come out easily. It is necessary to be protected from all sides. I will explain a simple technique how to achieve such purpose. However, this device is another new development where we have some wind inlet. We are able to regulate the speed of the wind, and that simulates the actual condition how with different wind velocity the loss of heat is influenced. Not just for extreme low temperatures, but extreme high temperature is a challenge for human civilization because we are every day facing some fire, some high temperature condition. We simulated such high temperature by laser irradiation. So we are able to have a sample which is exposed to very high temperature by laser, and we have a thermometer, infrared thermometer beneath the sample. This sample can be with aerosol, can be without aerosol, to give us idea how aerosol application into some monuments can protect from very high thermal conditions. So we created some industrial fabric, multi-layered fabrics from glass, Kevlar. Kevlar is known for its high thermal stability, and aerosol particles or granules. They were embedded in between these two layers, and such a sandwich was exposed to laser light and very high temperature, and we were evaluating the temperature underneath this sample to see if aerosols are having influence on protection from high temperature. So this graph, as you see, shows the temperature without aerosol is almost constant, but as we go on increasing the amount of aerosol granule per square area, we are having decrease in temperature on the lower surface. And this is significant decrease, and we are able to protect firefighters and people working in mines with such material as a sandwich in their clothing or in the gloves. Definitely the crushing or the sensitivity to pressure is an issue. Well, this is the latest or relatively new adoption, how to use or apply aerosol granules into a textile. Czech Republic is a pioneer in electrospinning, especially industrial scale electrospinning by use of nanospider, which also is a company in cooperation with Elmarco. Elmarco company is in Liberec itself. So they developed the first needleless electrospinning involving the drum or the cylinder. So there is a bath with polymer solution, and there is this cylinder rotating. On the surface of cylinder, a thin film of polymer is taken. There is electrostatic field, as I think this we discussed during my last seminar. And due to electrostatic field, the droplets of polymer, they create nanofibers. And we are able to collect it in wider sheets. So this is extremely simple technique how to create a fibrous mat out of polymer. Now, we took it a little further because we want to create textile nonwovens with aerosol, and definitely coating aerosol is not possible. Putting aerosol granules on existing textiles needs some thermal treatment, not so simple. Why not mix aerosol granules to this solvent before solvent electrospinning? They are non-mixable. They can be dispersed. Then when we supply this aerosol dispersed solvent in the chamber, in the container, and the drum collects the granules along with the polymer. Nanofibers are created from the polymers, and on the surface of nanofibers, inadvertently, these granules are attached, and when we create a nano fiber material on the substrate, aerosol granules are everywhere. They are in the core, on the surface, and what is most interesting, this layer is relatively thin. That means we can cover it by other layers on the top, on the bottom, and we can protect the granules which are on the surface. So we were able to create such kind of nanofibrous materials with aerosol. These nanofibrous materials were created from polyurethane and PVDF. Granules of aerosol were in between the layers, also on the surface. And as we go on increasing the deposition of nanofiber, we'll have more and more aerosol, and higher thickness is always advantageous. But on the other hand, we can also create relatively thin samples, which can be used as an inner layer in multi-layer textiles, and thus it can have some potential to be used in standard clothing for uh, daily applications. Not daily, but in winter applications. Typically looking into extreme low conditions, not just for common public, but for soldiers, people working in mountain areas, the extreme sports like ski, which is undertaken at very low temperature, and they need to have protection. Outer layer of the jacket has to be windproof, but still some extent of breathability. The sweat has to be absorbed by the inner layers, and aerosol typically prevents the heat loss. If you see the microscopic cross sections, you can see bigger granules which are entrapped between layers of nanofibers, and bigger the granule is relatively more advantageous because they are more efficient in protection against heat loss. And we studied the thermal conductivity of this nanofibrous layer, and extreme low conductivity was obtained. However, insulation is always a function of thickness. Some picture is missing here, doesn't matter, I'll explain. Not just by electrospinning, it is possible to create these insulation materials also from laser engraving technique, because after all, what we need is some pores where the aerosol granule can be entrapped. And these pores can be cut into standard existing non-ovens or foam material by irradiation with laser. Here we are making extensive use of laser device. So we are able to create, as is visible in this case, a non-oven material. And here, in this nano center, there are many innovations, including Struto, rotis, which are techniques to create bulky three-dimensional non-ovens. We use such substrate material. We irradiate with laser and create pores. This kind of pores by laser light, because cutting it by heat or other technique will not be that simple, but laser can easily create uniform pores. Then we fill such pores by granules of aerosol and cover such bulky non-oven from both sides by thin films of, say, polypropylene spun-bond non-ovens, and thus we have a relatively thick, highly porous, aerosol-embedded, multi-layered thermal insulation material. And we have evaluated the insulation thermal resistance of such sandwich to be very effective, very efficient for extreme low or extreme high temperature conditions. When we talk about high temperature, we definitely must keep in mind that fiber themselves should be resistant. And if we use polyethylene, polypropylene, they are very sensitive and low melt. Therefore, for extreme high temperature, we need to create something like Kevlar, Nomex with aerosol. For extreme low condition, low temperature condition, definitely these commercial synthetic fibers like polypropylene, polyester are useful. There are also other techniques like the thermal camera visual system. We evaluated the thermal insulation of all these materials by use of thermal camera, thermal labo, as well as the other techniques which I explained earlier. We obtain thermal images, and we see more or less very uniform thermal images. That means there is no escape of heat from the edges of the material. It is uniformly created. That is possible through laser cutting, because we have the pores uniformly distributed throughout the surface of the material. We obtained thermal conductivity and resistance values, and with higher portion of aerosol. Higher means 1 to 2% maximum. As I said, the density is so low that very small 100 gram of aerosol occupies huge container. So it is like very small mass but huge volume. So we are able to occupy the empty space very efficiently. So these are some results of conductivity and insulation. Well, it is also important to ascertain that such insulation materials are to some extent able to survive the external pressure or the load, because when we use it in a jacket and we are slightly moving our body parts or sitting somewhere, it should survive. So when the aerosol granules are embedded into the core of the material, like a studo or rotis bulky nonwoven into the pores, they are protected from both sides and they are able to survive compression. We evaluated the compression load displacement behavior, and relatively good resiliency is achieved from these three-dimensionally oriented nonwovens developed in this institute. So it's a good combination of resilience, compressional resilience, and thermal insulation. So laser engraving proved to be relatively promising for future applications. With respect to electrospinning, also we use some of the latest developments. If you go to the chronology of electrospinning, the latest Elmarco machines, they do not use a cylinder anymore. In place of cylinder, they are using a wire, very thin wire, and this thin wire, the advantage, as I discussed last time, if some of you remember, gives the advantage of very low consumption of the solvent and minimum wastage, which is environmentally beneficial as well. So we can use a small container like a syringe with very few milliliters of the solvent with aerosol. The needle, through the needle hole, the wire is passing, or through the hole in the container, wire is passing, thereby connecting, thereby collecting some amount of the solvent with the aerosol. And from the surface of this wire, the nanofibers are emerging because of the electrostatic field, taking the aerosol granules along with them. Let me clarify that the granules do not enter into the core of the fiber. Nanofiber is very small. So, and we do not want the aerosol to be misused by being entrapped into the fiber core. Rather, it is better that it is only on the surface and it gives the insulation more efficiently. And that is achieved. And we evaluated the thermal degradation of such materials by thermogravimetric analysis, and relatively low weight loss was achieved with electro spread. Yes, the terminology here has changed to electrospraying instead of electrospinning, as I also discussed, that by changing the concentration and the voltage and the viscosity of the solvent, we are able to create droplets of the solvent rather than creating fibers. And why at all to create fibers when we are not using fibers as individual components? We are using the whole sheet as a thermal insulation. And if it is fiber or if it is nanoporous membrane, everything is the same. We are not achieving insulation from the fibers. Insulation is coming from the aerosol. That is why we created low concentration and easy electrospraying deposition of particles, and then using it as a mid-layer in multi-layer structure. Not just these properties of thermal insulation, but in a real application, it is important to have good mass transfer, that is air permeability, permeability to water vapor, and we must not have a material very insulating but not breathable with respect to air and water vapor. Somehow aerosols, because they are very small in mass, so they are not prohibiting air to pass from one side to other side, essential air, so they are relatively breathable. We evaluated the water vapor permeability and we obtained relatively acceptable level of water vapor permeability, not like polyethylene sheet which protects from everything. Nowadays we are using these masks for protection against coronavirus, or not protection against coronavirus, but protection of others from the released droplets from our mouth and nose. Everywhere in the world it is being used, and this is composed from, you can see on this side is polypropylene standard nonwoven spunbond, and on the inner side is a nanofiber layer. What is important, this must be breathable. When you are using it and you are choked for breathing, it is difficult. It is not so simple to use it whole day, but as there are restrictions. You must use it in public transport, in public areas, but it is breathable, and that is the beauty of such systems, which give relatively easy breathability. Resistance to water vapor is relatively acceptable, or low resistance, not extremely high resistance. Now, what is application of such aerosol-based materials? Insulation, as I said, we are giving our efforts to make it useful in human clothing applications. However, as of now, there exist many successful applications in acoustic, house building, thermal insulation. In cold countries like here, in the winter, supply of hot water is very important issue. Hot water is centrally supplied to all households. Without hot water, nobody can survive. We have hot and cold. Now, the hot water tubes need to be protected from the outside freezing conditions, and it is necessary to have some covering, and aerosol-based blankets are very good solution for such protection. There exist the building insulation materials commercially available. One very interesting application is in space, because space is very different from earthly conditions. Astronauts come across extreme low temperature, and they in NASA have adopted aerosol blankets to create astronaut suits, because in space, not just low temperature, there is no moisture and minimum movement. Therefore, it is proved to be very important solution. And these are practical households which have been using aerosol as a blanket, and in Czech Republic are existing such excellent applications. Sleeping bags for soldiers, for sports person, shoes, insoles, especially for winter sports, for military people. Now we are passing through very turbulent military phase in India and all over the world, of course. But for such people who are protecting the territory of the nation, it is necessary that they are protected from extremities of environment. You can imagine how harsh is the condition in Himalayas and Ladakh and other places. So the shoes they are using must have something to protect from the extreme cold condition, and aerosol based blankets with sufficient resiliency or ability to survive the external mechanical deformation can be used. They are already used in some cases, but can be further improved to provide insulation to the food, because food is the first thing from the body which is coming in contact with icy surfaces. Sleeping bags or jackets, the helmets, the caps, not just space suit, but all space equipment can be protected from extreme low temperature by use of aerosol blankets. And here are also sports gear which are used with aerosol. They are already successfully commercialized. In future, it is necessary to develop some stronger aerosol-based materials which can survive the mechanical deformations from external sources. Something to protect. Of course, energy conserved is energy created, so we must save the heat from buildings, from human bodies, from massive equipments. Sound insulation is another important field where you can have absorption of sound in vehicles, in chambers. We need to have more uniform properties, safety measures for aerosol. Aerosol during the synthesis has some hazardous behavior. So as of now, it has proved to be a good insulation material. However, using it in standard textile is always a challenge, and we are continuously working hard in this area. Many people across the world are working, and we need to do more comprehensive research to have better quality of aerosol with better mechanical performance. I think that's what I wanted to brief today, and if there will be some questions, I'll be happy to address, because Professor Petru will be back in for 5 minutes. Hello, Prakashi.
Participant, yes, sir. Any
Uh,
participant have any question? If you have any question, you can ask the expert.
uh,
Write in
it,
the chat box.
well, aerosol is easy to create in laboratory conditions, small amount, but to use it in a real industrial application is the main challenge. Either through electro spraying or by laser engraving and putting aerosol granule into multi-layered structure, we are able to create bigger samples. I think many people also in India and the US, they are still working on silica aerosols. Some people are working on carbon-based aerosols, cellulose-based aerosols to be more environment friendly. So, are there any some question in India? Of course,
Yeah.
there's some research in IIT or other research institutes in India also, especially in defense research. They are working very hard on aerosol-based material for military applications. Also in space research, they are also using aerosol-based materials. So ISRO, DRDO, they are the leading institutions working on aerosol. You will come across aerosols in literature. Definitely, the first step, if you want to know if people are working, what are the recent developments, search on the internet. I think last time I also mentioned about the textile progress, aerosol-based thermal insulation. It is in cooperation with Dr. Progress from Bangalore. There are also articles published in Journal of Thermal Science, in Textile Research Journal, Journal of Textile Issue. So from there you can have more detailed information about aerosol research in textile applications, measurements, evaluation, optimization, etc.
So one question is there from Jay Sharma. Is it possible to make the aerosol at ambient drying in large scale
In ambient drying,
or
not possible because of
carbon aerosol?
probably yes, for carbon it is possible. But in large scale, it has to be in some controlled conditions. Industrial scale is not that simple as in laboratory condition. So that is the reason why we did not synthesize in our research work, even in university or in Center of Nanotechnology. We just use the granule of aerosol as supplied by a company Cabo, silica aerosol, and just try to attach it to textile. But synthesis is definitely more important, and if you are able to synthesize in laboratory, you will be able to take it to large scale. Definitely, it is relatively challenging, but carbon erosion can be done in room temperature, ambient conditions.
So one more question: which is the most sustainable technology for getting the aerosol effect in the textile?
Sustainability is not that easy to address or not easy to define. We have different understanding of sustainability. Most sustainable. Sustainability means everything. See, having long-term effects, recyclability, disposability, economy, ecology. So, in my opinion, the minimum usage is the best way, and reuse, recycling is also essential. So, this electrospraying with biodegradable polymers, cellulose-based aerosols can be a good approach. Um, and as small amount of material used will be more and more sustainable. There is also discussion synthetic fibers are sustainable or natural fibers are sustainable. My opinion is it is based on usage and efficiency of recycling.
Hello, sir.
Uh,
Hello,
Hello.
sir. Uh, uh, this is Shreya Sharma. Sir, I have a question. Like aerosol material is very brittle when we touch it. So how it is adhering to the non-woven substrate?
Yes. So we are not
And
using. Yeah. Can I answer to
and
the first? Yeah.
sorry. and we are using as a garment, then there should be much like good adherence between the aerogel and this substrate.
Thank you. So this has been a long-standing question because the brittleness and the sensitivity to compression is the most challenging thing in textile. That is the reason why we need to use aerogel not on the outer layers. Thermal insulation materials are not just single layer; they are multiple layers. As you use more number of layers, the better. So aerogel embedded material should be somewhere in the very middle. It must be protected from all sides. At the same time, the outer layer should outer layer should behave as cushion to the inner layer, and that is possible by using nanobuns, bulky nanobuns. So what you are using are the three-dimensionally oriented nanobuns, which are like wavy nanobuns, and they are highly compressible and highly resilient. They can recover the compression. Aerogel as a granule, if you use a monoblock, it is easy to be destroyed. But if you distribute it into larger area, it is into smaller dimensions or granules, and they are relatively less brittle. On the other side, also we created these nanobuns with laser engraving, and aerogel is protected inside. That means it is not by compression, it is not being destroyed. But definitely, as you rightly pointed out, aerogel is very sensitive, very sensitive to. So I think if you have more questions, you can always write email. Prakashi and organizers have our contact details. As time is running out, let us hand over to Michael.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So now I'll introduce the next speaker for this webinar, Dr. Michael Petru, who is Associate Professor in Technical University of Utrecht. His research areas are electric vehicle, robotics, and machine components. He has about 120 publications in international journal and about 100 presentations in international conferences. His teaching activity includes the subject based on the mechanics of automotive parts, computational fluid dynamics, and the robotics control of machine parts. He is also the deputy director and head of Center for Advanced Material and Nanotechnology. He is also leading several industrial projects with the Skoda auto company in Czech Republic. So I invite Dr. Michael Petru to present his lecture.
Okay, thank you very much for your invitation to our presentation. And I will be continue in other presentation with title of Computation Methods in Developing Composite Modular Platform for Autonomous Chassis of Specialized Electric Vehicles for Freight Equipment Transportation. For first step, I would like to see what is modular platform for autonomous chassis. And therefore, I show you short video about our testing platform for our development. Yeah, there is our testing machine testing prototypes. This is complete autonomous modular platform. Can be used for application for transport tools, transport machine, transport practically everything. And this is complete all one move from point A to point B. With controlling before human, controlling before building, as can be pylon, doors, walls, practically before everything, everyone. Yeah. This is modular platform for autonomous chassis. Why we do it? Nowadays, is in the European Union and practically in all world, very big trends and goals in development of structure parts put high requirements of new structure, because we need by rules degrees wide, degrees emission, low impact environment, degrees COT. And therefore, this is very big trouble for constructors, designers, engineers, because we have several points what we must including to complete construction. For example, geometric adjustment, development of new materials, like energy saving, recyclable, also environmental performance, and also materials, construction, geometry must be good or well with existing physical and mechanical parameters of standard materials. Therefore, this is very big complex problem, and this complex problem is we have we making wide reduction, or we making degrees wide, and physical parameters will be also worse. Therefore, we must found good way and balancing between how we can use wide reduction and innovation for all parts, what will be complete comparison with standard materials, as can be steel, textile materials, plastic materials. And therefore, one solution can be for mechanical parts, go this way with new materials as can be alloy, or composite materials as can be with standard fibers matrix from organic, inorganic, or hybrid, when will be combination more fibers in complete composite. Also, European Union declares strong, very strong R&D support for everyone who will be continue and who will be development of new advanced technologies and materials with goal reduce the environmental impact. Therefore, it is way for lightweight structure. But this way has several troubles, because we can use lightweight structure, but where is new materials with lightweight structure that will be not expensive, will be balancing for physical and mechanical properties? And therefore, we must take a lot of synthesis, characterization, testing, modeling, verification, and also prototyping, manufacturing, and production. Therefore, this way is not far, and we must take more testing and more modeling. And therefore, our approach and our one approach is about modeling or modeling physical and mechanical properties for more information about light material structure, and therefore we are using mathematical modeling, numeric modeling, and comparison with testing. Nowadays, we can modeling in nanoscale, microscale, macroscale of samples, and after these dates we can use for application to complete parts or complete assembly. And finally, these dates we can use for our platform or our developing parts, our developing cars. And now, in this second step, I show you how we do it and how is our approach. These results, what do you see, are supporting for financing from Ministry of Education, also from European Union, from Europe Structural Investment Funds. This very big project, and therefore it's necessary for us, for our development. For first step, we are analysis of mechanical properties, testing samples of composite structure for more information and for increasing our knowledge and our experience about utility and mechanical parameters. Therefore, for first step, we take testing fibers. This is for our examples, carbon fibers or glass fibers, but definitely it can be nature fibers as flax, coconut, ananas, or other waste fibers, definitely basalt fibers. And for every composite, we are balancing which fibers will be good and which fibers are important for our parts. For these fibers, for complete connection, we must take matrix, epoxy, polyurethane, or several other matrix can be for us resin and connection with fibers for complete samples of composite materials. Therefore, we are complex analysis and testing for individual physical parameters, because it is for us very necessary, because statistic value and averaging is very important. And for unknown parameters, we must take modeling, mathematical modeling for our other information and complex analysis. Therefore, for when we have testing samples with defined density metrics, density fibers, thickness, volume metrics, volume fibers, mass volume, mass fibers, we can go to testing and measuring. And for testing, we are using definitely standard isonorm, by Germany DIN, by US ANSI, by NISO from European Union, for standard tension, bending, 3-point bending, Sharpie hammer, and we have results for comparison. There is a page with some example results. There is some results about force and displacement for matrix, force displacement for carbon fibers. Yeah, there is very big difference, because fibers has more strength, matrix very small strength, and also for glass fibers, and after for hybrid composite glass and carbon fibers. But how you can show that practically same samples from one table what will be preparing for testing, one table where is I take to cutting several test samples. You can show that different between maximal stress for elongation is very big. Therefore, practically every composite materials is self or oven materials. But we have for standard average, where is the smaller strange or smaller stress, and in this date are for us for our calculation. Definitely, for our understanding, for complete modeling and complete analysis about composite structure, we must preparing inner study of inner structure, study of understanding how is connection matrix between fibers, because there is on the picture fibers and matrix, and there is very good connection. It's good for optimal or practically optimal synergy effect. What can I see you for next pages? But there is fibers with matrix with gap. Therefore, this is place with not connection matrix with fibers, and therefore there aren't optimal synergy effects, and therefore complete structure of composite is not good, not optimal. Yeah, and definitely for us is also for understanding about complete composite structure is understanding or more understanding and more information about connection between matrix and fibers. There is fibers, there is matrix, and this circle is practically interface. Interface is complete optimal connection between matrix and fibers, and can be used for complete synergy effect from composite materials. And therefore, this information is from us for dates to mathematical modeling, because these dates or these results are all what we are able preparing from testing. And therefore, this all tests, tension, bending, Sharpie, in a study about inner structure and study about measurement some connection matrix or with fiber we take and include to equation to mathematical models. We have several approach for or how we can modeling composite materials, but all approach practically use from standard basic constitutive equation. This equation is standard equation for strain, stress, and elastic constants. Yeah, practically it is equation for composite materials, and for standard linear materials, it is or linear elastic materials, it is for whole cloth. But for composite materials, it is not only for one direction, but for three direction, X, Y, Z. Therefore, we must found also from measurement, from testing, elastic modulus, Poisson ratio, and GR modules. GR modules we can calculate also from elastic modules, but for composite materials is not standard calculation, because sometimes we can use some constant. Constant will be for some modeling, sometimes treble for found. And after we can use some methodology by models, analytical models, and we can use for this calculation by Voigt or Royce model for linear depends, but for non-linear depends is modified model, Halpin-Sein model, or flexible elastic model. And this is standard equation by this analytical models, which can be used by basic constitute equation. But all these dates we can use for numeric models and preparing some numeric models, and there can be used as continuous model or extended continuous model, and for example also continuous model for nanoscale. There is a show for your inspiration how can be used for our modeling models: micro or macro model, micro model, and nano model. Macro model is standard for samples, practically same as our testing samples, and we can testing and analyzing stress, strain, deformation. Micro model is complex model for our information and for our visualization, because we can take for analyzing between stress, for analyzing for stress between fibers and matrix, because this is complex model where is fibers or some amount fibers and matrix. And nano model, or it is complete complex model. This model we can use for submodel to micro model, for analyzing complete interface or stress or connection between fibers and matrix. Definitely, every model has self-limit condition, and definitely we must take and calculate also with some errors, and therefore we must find balance between errors, between some gaps in convergation, and between with good results. Therefore, it is our tool our tool for our understanding about composite materials. Therefore, we have a chance analyzing some displacement or deformation for our boundary condition, and definitely understanding about results from stress. For micro model, we can continue for understanding about how is process between fiber and matrix, and we can calculate also connection matrix fiber, and therefore this is place for short visualization, introduce to understanding about interface, about contact between matrix and fibers. Therefore, this is good visualization, but this result we must preparing for comparison with testing, and therefore which constant we can use for comparison with models, as can be elastic modulus for every direction x number 1, epsilon number 2, epsilon 3 or 3 z, and also same for G G modules, and it is for shear, shear, and for Poisson ratio to every plane. And also we can use, calculate, or comparison with force and deformation for testing samples and for our models. How you can show several models haven't optimal trajectory and optimal curve for calculation, because there is circle with calculation from measurement. There is standard void model with color red, and with symbols rectangle, triangle is for numeric models. But for elastic modulus to direction 1 to x is practically correct. But to rectangle direction to epsilon is not correct. And same as for shear modulus in plane epsilon z, respective 2, 3. Therefore, we must take for our calculation very difficult determination for all constant, also iterative methods. Using iterative methods as can be GNA or LMA, respectively Gauss-Newton algorithm or Levenberg-Marquardt algorithm and other algorithm, we can use and found unknown parameters as can be in Poisson ratio for plane 2, 3, for example, C with star. C with star is constant from author who has competention for preparing equation for Poisson ratio calculate, and therefore we must found this constant or constant K for every composite materials what we will testing. And iterative methods can be good for this this found of these results, and I can show you how can be example of convergence and found. Yeah, there is yeah. You have shown curve with non-linear depends, and our iterative methods, our what we have used iterative methods, Gauss-Newton algorithm. We have found unknown parameters, and therefore after its error for our calculation smaller, and our results can be good for our preparing to complete parts, not only to samples. Yeah, and for complex information, we have or we can use also modeling by nanoscale. Yeah, there is some area, some board about metrics and about fibers. There is area for interfaces, and this area we can use for modeling, for testing between board. There is rectangle for fiber. There is a rectangle for metrics, and there is cohes element for calculation with interfaces. For our understanding, we must to know what is interfaces and what is nanoparticles, what is nanowires, nanofibers. Yeah, there is some picture about micro size for 20 micrometers. Yeah, there is some particles. Yeah, and there is nanoparticles. Nanoparticles are about 300 nanometers, 550 nanometers. How is will be male? And therefore, this is this calculation with this scale is very trouble, but by simulation can be similar visit or similar see for us, and we must take from calculation also optimal, also preparing optimal theory, and optimal theory for basic understanding about interface, nanoparticles, and other application, nanowires, nanofibers, can be by calculation with deformation energy. We know that the deformation energy is simply question where is stress, strain, and definitely integral for volume. or for area. And therefore, optimal or standard understanding will be that we are calculation deformation energy from matrix, for example, from 1, and the deformation energy from fibers or fiber. Yeah, and therefore it's complete sum of energies, and therefore resulting equation is E1 plus 2 is energy of matrix plus energy of fiber. But it's really right? Not. Because this equation is bad, because mixing two components, we are using greater deformation energy, and greater deformation energy must be sum of both energy, but not standard both, that I will be calculated with one energy and second energy, but we must complete calculation in integral. And therefore, there is third part, and third part is complete for our understanding, matrix, fibers, and one tail, two matrix, two fibers, and practically it is our interface. And therefore, when will be this simple equation for our understanding, we will see how we can calculate with complete composite structure. And therefore, through energy is one solution for understanding for composite materials, and composite materials also with nanoparticles. And therefore, we can use these systems for also for calculate with impregnated nanoparticles, and also calculated for study of interfaces. And therefore, now when we have some information about how is calculate, or how can we take calculate problem, fibers, matrix, interface problem for composite material, we can use several methods, as can be molecular dynamic methods, or other numeric methods, as can be discrete element methods, then, or finite element method, FEM, for study of interface under tension separation or tension loading. Therefore, we have calculate process for connection between fiber and matrix. Therefore, after we have two for our calculation, because this calculation is only results from calculation, because we haven't chance, or now we have more chance for testing and measuring this process about interfaces, and therefore we must building models which can be comparison for our understanding and our trends. Therefore, for visualization, we can continue to modeling on interfaces, there is matrix, there is fibers, and there is interfaces. Therefore, we can use results from force between connection fibers and matrix. And after, why all we did, because we want to know more information about our fibers, about metrics, and about also complete impregnation nanoparticles to resin and to fibers. And therefore, we must continue after our modeling, preparing some samples, and these samples testing for comparison between standard composite materials without nanoparticles and with particles, and also which fibers can be better for connection with nanoparticles, and which fibers we don't mass taking for our parts. Therefore, there is presenting some selected results about glass fiber plus epoxy resin. Yeah. And you can show that there is tensile modules and fly ash white. We are using for our nanoparticles with fly ash. There is standard composite materials with glass fibers without nanoparticles. And there is standard composite materials or not standard composite materials with nanoparticles. Yeah, and there is some change. Definitely, our tensile modules is now lower, but for us, it is change for our seeing, our understanding. But there is area for unmilled flash. 1%, there is percent on the axis is percent 1, 3, 5, 10% fly ash white to resin, epoxy resin. But this is smaller tensile modules than standard tensile modules with 1% unmilled flash. But when we can use 1% mill fly ash, we can use better tensile modules still, or ask for 1%, and therefore we will found more percent, and therefore for 3 or 4%, it's standard composite materials, glass fibers. There is composite materials, glass fibers with nanoparticles, unmilled, and there is composite materials with nanoparticles, milled fly ash. And there is very good way for us for preparing optimal materials or optimal construction composite for final parts. Also, other comparison for tensile strength, also for flexibility properties, absorb energy, and also impact strength. Because for us is also which will be calculated with materials can be used for part to modular platform or to part to car or to construction, and construction which can be or which must be, not can be, which must be safety. Therefore, for us is very important also impact strength. And for glass fiber, or for this example, this is one solution. There, we can continue for understanding why is standard composite from glass fiber worse than composite with glass fibers with nanoparticles mill flash us, and for us we need more information about this process, and therefore we must go to inner structure and found where is trouble, including nanoparticles to epoxy resin or to resin can be good, and you see as well for also not only strange, not only more or higher strange, higher stress, but also for better complete structure. Because in standard or usually we can show in inner structure some gaps in structure of composite materials. Gaps are with air, and therefore this is a place without some power, some synergy effect for us. Also, places about or board about these gaps can be places where is fibrous and fibrous without matrix. Matrix is there, but there is fibrous without connection matrix, and therefore complete synergy effect is not here. But through or include nanoparticles, we can use also for better structure, smaller places for some gaps, and therefore our strength can be grew, and it can be our understanding how is better or why is better composite materials with nanoparticles. Several results what I discussed now with you, I have published with several respected journals as for example, composite Part B, nanomaterials, polymers, construction building. And when do you will we want more or give more information, you can try my ResearchGate profile, where is also my publication and minimal address where you can find. And now, when we have calculate, when we have tested, when we have informated, or we have more information about samples, we must these dates take for complete preparing parts, composite parts. In our or at our university, we have testing devices for winding fibers, and therefore our testing is or our preparing for final composite parts is definitely a standard way by some hand composite materials, but also second way with machine preparing final composite parts, and through machine we are using winding fibers. Therefore, we have systems with rotation, where is fibrous and fibrous winding about practically non-bearing core. For only this core for us is only for geometry, and about this core we are winding fibers. Before we take complete preparing parts, we have or we are making and modeling theoretic parts for our understanding, for our construction and for our designing. And therefore, we are creating 3D geometric model for practically future part, which can be some simply geometry by tube or rectangle, or different geometry with not only circle cross section. And this generating or geometric model, we are generating parametric equation to wind fibers, and this equation we are using for calculate how many layers will be in this part, how is angle for winding, which fibers we can using. For example, there is show or picture for hybrid structure, where is glass and carbon fibers. And after these dates, we are modeling same as testing samples. Therefore, this modeling can be used for our understanding about stress and deformation, for several loading types. Individual loads can be for shear, bending, tensing. Therefore, for our information about angles for windings, 0 to 3 points, 45, 0 to 10, 0, and for us is some information. Definitely, we can continue in creation also with model for understanding through impact quote. In our labs, we are testing by high press cylinder. High press cylinder can be used for very for fast velocity, because we can use for 50-60 kilometers per hour, and therefore we can use this cylinder for impact, and same calculate by our simulation. Therefore, we can testing different composite structure and different types of composite with different fibers with same fibers. For example, I'll show you model can be used. That is a model and model for crash. And these days we are comparing with experimental measuring, and therefore we have more information about materials, about our parts. Yeah, and from these analysis, we have summary results of composite part, and we have information where is good preparing one wire, two wire, three wires. For example, when we will want pseudo random loads or combined loads, for us is very good minimal three wires, 0 for very good strength in tension, and plus 45 degrees and minus 45 degrees for shear and bending. Therefore, it's our information about samples, and we can continue to complete this model take for our manufacturing. And before manufacturing, because at our labs we have also robotic manufacturing, and therefore we are able preparing complete parts by robot bending. We must preparing also mathematical model of bending process. There is model which was prepared in numerical models, and this model is for complete calculation how is good or how is optimal process for bending fibers. There is robot, there is core for our part, and this circle is simply part for us for simulation, but this circle is head for bending, and therefore we have visiting, or we have showing optimal process by our calculation. I can show you. And this model is mathematical model where is our part, there is our winding tool or winding machine, and there is optimal trajectory for our preparing fibers. There is example for winding 3 fibers or one fibers, 3 wires, and also we can use for 1 wires, only one winding about non-bearing core. And therefore, we have some information, and this information for us is good for getting dates for X, Y, Z to our robot for 2 center point, and these dates we can use for application to real robot. Because this model for us generating parametric equation. Parametric equation where is metrics of rotation for every direction, same as what I said, X, Y, Z. And this equation we can use from mathematical modeling to standard robot. There is standard there is standard dates from mathematical model for our testing in our lab for winding fibers about part. Simply two, very simply two with rotation move and winding fibers about 4. And therefore, we have connection between mathematical model and robot manufacturing. Also, these dates and several ideas about generating parametric equation from mathematical or numeric simulation for real winding. We have published in polymers or robotics, computer integrated manufacturing, and therefore there is possibility for reading it. And complete, there is preparing our samples from here is from carbon fibers. After include form injection molding, and we can use testing for comparison with complete real sample and complete mathematical sample or mathematical model. To some elongation, it's practically very similar, same, because direction is practically linear. From elongation, more elongation is different, and therefore some area it's good for comparison. Also, we can use comparison, but analysis of variance, but by ANOVA. Therefore, our computation models, numerical models, we can use for comparison with experimental dates and preparing complete composite structure parts, which have better mechanical properties or balance or optimal mechanical properties what we need from final parts. Yeah, and to final, we are continuing in development of our ideas for winding fibers. Therefore, our develop was better winding device, yeah, with more necessary, yeah. And now we have also calculate with faster speed. Yeah. Okay, and for final, to our conclusion is also for close non-bearing core can be used with our head for winding fibers. Yeah, there is complete our dates were applied to a robot and to head, and now we have by 3 rotation disc winding 3 wires for just time, and therefore not only 1 wire. Okay, it's my idea, my opportunities and contribution for some solving of this complex problem with composite materials, and it's our opportunities for also collaboration with everyone who has same ideas and who has continued in this process. Yeah, thank you very much for your attention.
Hello, Prakash. Hello, Prakash, can you hear us?
Hello, sir.
Sir.
Now
Prakash, can you go? Fine, thank you. Can you go to the main page showing all the participants, because Professor Michael Petru wants to have a picture with everyone attending.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And if there are some questions, can we discuss them a little bit? We can have picture with everyone coming.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You want to show some slide, specific slide?
Yeah.
Acknowledgement of project.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yes, sir.
And only have picture.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so yeah, Prakash, if you want to have some discussion or some questions from
Uh,
any participant.
Participant, if you have any question, you can ask.
Take it.
Okay, maybe.
You are there.
Uh,
Mm,
and please still.
Yeah.
I think there is no question, sir. So,
Yeah.
on behalf of Yamilu Textile Engineering College, I would like to thank Professor Michael Petru and Dr. Rajesh
Yeah.
Mishra, sir, who has given their valuable time for this webinar, successful conduction of this webinar. And thank you. And this collaboration will be there with the Yamilu Textile College and Technical University of Liberec, I hope. And so that will be benefited for our students and the researchers. So thank you so much, sir.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Prakash. Yeah, and hope to see you sometime again.
Okay. I hope that because now is a terrible situation about COVID and how will be a good situation. I hope that we will see again in your country, in your town, or in Liberec in Czech Republic. Yeah. Bye. See you.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Nice
you.
meeting, sir.
Have a nice day.
Uh, then all participants kindly fill the feedback form. The link has been given in the here. So kindly fill the feedback form. Hello. Hello.
सर लिंक किस पे आएगा लिंक
लिंक चैट बॉक्स में भेज दिया है. And the link will be only open for 15 minutes. So before that, you need to fill that form.